All right. So here we go. Welcome back to another day in the office. I hope you're having an amazing day. And I've got something a little bit different. I've got a video about why the Sony a6500 would still be a useful or good camera in 2023. And I've come up with a bunch of conclusions which I think are pretty valid. And I've thrown some notes together just to make sure I stay on track. Here are some reasons why I think people would want to buy this camera in 2023. First of all, it's a 24 megapixel camera, and I've seen them sell for as low as $500. I'm not saying they'd be in good shape or anything, but you know, a decent camera that shoots amazing video, 4K 30 for $500. And when I saw that for sale, that was without a lens. But you could pick up some used lens pretty darn cheap. And it's got in-body image stabilization, which not many cameras have. And then when you pair that with a gimbal, man, this thing is fire. And one of the biggest reasons why somebody might want to buy this camera in 2023, or at all, is because it shoots at 11 frames per second. And when people are looking for a camera that shoots a high frame rate like that, usually it's for, you know, animal photography, not so much animal, but more sports, that kind of stuff. And if you try to find a camera if you try to find any other camera that shoots either 11 frames per second or higher, you're more than likely not going to find one that is at this price point. I mean, you know, for something this cheap to be able to shoot frames that quick, it's pretty insane. And then some of the pros that I think are pretty. And here's some of the pros. The cost being one, the biggest factor. This camera being as cheap as you could find it, you know, for, you know, $500 to $700. That is, I think, a massive win. And having the E-mount and being able to use APS-C lenses on this is a massive win. Because if you go on the used market, there are so many E-mount lenses, especially for APS-C. You can find them. You know, I've found some for $100. They range from $100 to, you know, insanely expensive, but we won't go there. A lot of people, you know, rave over the autofocus of the Sony cameras, and they are pretty darn good. Like right now I'm shooting on my Sony a7R. And the autofocus on that thing has been pretty awesome. It's got a full tilt out screen. And an EVF, which is pretty huge for a camera this small, this affordable. And then one other massive thing is it's got a weather sealing, which I guess there aren't very many APS-C lenses that come with weather sealing, which will make you have to buy a full frame lens if you want to go out in a jungle or in the rain or whatever. Or you can just take the risk and hope that your camera doesn't break. But it's got 3 custom buttons. No, never mind. It's got 2 custom buttons. I thought it had 3. But you can also customize like there's this focus button right here. You can customize that. You can also customize like the wheel. You can customize the trash can. Oh, the trash can is the custom 3. That's right. But yeah, here we go. It can shoot 4K 30, 25, 24, 25 if you're in the UK. But it also does 1080p at 120 frames per second for that awesome buttery smooth slow-mo. And I've heard some people say that they like the fact that it can shoot JPEG and RAW, because I guess there are people out there that shoot in only JPEG. But if you are using that, setting, then I've heard of some people using the vivid creative setting on your JPEG pictures, and they come out really sharp and they're very internet worthy, social media worthy, I should say. And another pro for this thing would be the camera body being so small. It's tiny. Like, I keep a cage on it because my finger just doesn't hang off, It just doesn't feel good in the hands. And another pro, I think, would be being able to throw this thing on a drone. So I've got some friends on Facebook that are actually throwing this camera body on a drone, like a big X8 drone. They don't have a lens like this on it, but they have a really wide angle lens. I don't have one, it's on my camera right there, but they throw manual focus lenses, like ultra wide lenses on it, to be able to get the camera weight down really low. And I think that's pretty amazing because of the footage this thing puts out. If you're able to throw it on a drone, do it. Yeah, I've heard, I was reading some articles and stuff about this, and people are saying that the autofocus of the a6500 is almost up to par with their newest a6600 camera, and that's pretty nuts. And then I guess people are saying the a6600 is like the fastest autofocus in the world, or at least at one point it was. But yeah, for that to be their newest camera, I thought the a6100 was their newest. Anyways, if I'm wrong, just correct me. Yeah, the weather sealing on this thing is so good that I've seen videos of people completely dropping this thing underwater and like snatching it out of the water real quick, and the camera is still good. And that's pretty insane. But I wouldn't test that, by the way, because I personally would not trust my camera underwater. I don't think you should either. And what would make somebody decide to go with something else besides this camera? And I think what would make someone choose something else over this is if they're going for something either strictly for taking pictures, or if they need a camera strictly for video. Because if you need a camera that you're only going to use for video, then there are other options like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, or the Lumix GH5S, which is also a really good camera for video. then if you're looking for cameras that are strictly for pictures, there are tons out there that are a lot higher megapixels, not as good autofocus, but if you're into taking pictures, you can use manual focus. You can get amazing tack sharp pictures with some of these other cameras that are like, oh, I forgot the name of the one. It's an older camera. It's a 5DSR or something that you can get pretty cheap now. And that I think is like a 50 megapixel camera. Autofocus is garbage, but the pictures are amazing to come out of that camera. But if you're looking for a good all-around camera, this would be a good option. And then we're going into a few of the problems / cons that I've had with this camera. Excuse me. Alright. So I think the biggest con that I've had with this camera would be, so I shoot more macro stuff than anything else really. And I've got this per gear lens. So when I'm using the per gear lens on there, it does something really funny. So if I could probably show you, but if I'm like taking pictures, you know, and you want to go back and review your pictures, then you have to keep the camera really still, because for some reason it'll jump out of the menu, or your gallery or whatever they call it. So it doesn't want to stay in the menu or if you're in your gallery looking at your pictures, you're previously taking pictures. So here, I'll start it up and I'll show you the weird thing that's happening with this. You open up the aperture to f2.8 and focus it. So alright. Here, I'll take a I don't even have an SD card in it. So I go into the menu, and it just pops out of the menu. There. Holy cow, it stayed in the menu that time. Oh, there it goes. It's really weird. So yeah, this is a weird issue that I've had since I've gotten the camera, and I have not seen or read about anybody else having the issue, so I think it is just my camera, and or it could just be the lens, because it's only this lens that it does it with. All my other manual focus lenses, it just doesn't do it, and it's really strange. But anyways, that was one of the big issues that made me want to go and get a different camera and see if it does it or what. But I don't really see that as a con. It's just a weird little thing that happens. Like not being able to check your pictures after you've taken pictures is a huge bummer, and I loved that lens. But when you're out taking pictures and you can't look and see if you've nailed the focus, it gets on your nerves. But that's the only like huge problem that I've had with that camera. The battery life, a lot of people complain about the battery life, and you know, the battery life isn't good. that's why the batteries are dirt cheap. You know, I've got 4 sitting here, and each battery will last about an hour or so. And that's not very long at all, because in the Sony a6500 that I use, one battery can last almost the whole day, and that's just nuts. But for the price of the camera, you know, battery life being one of the biggest cons, that's completely manageable. Batteries are cheap, you know, swap them out, you know, do whatever you gotta do. Keep on going. And they also sell a dummy battery, powered cable type thing, which I do have and I have used, and it does work really good. You know, it'll sit at about 95% battery life. Sometimes, you know, 100 if you're lucky. But you know, that being the biggest problem people run into, I don't think that's that big of a problem. Oh, you also can get the extended battery, what's it called? The battery group, I think they call it. But that holds 2 batteries, which would give you a lot longer battery life. You know, if you're shooting video and stuff, then that'd be pretty useful. And everything in this video is just purely based off my opinion, what I think of it. And you know, I think this is an amazing camera for the price. You know, you get really high resolution screen, high resolution EVF. It's got a hot shoe. You know, it does have built-in flash. You know, interchangeable lenses. You know, the ability to throw a cage on it and mount all your stuff. I've heard some people complain about it only going up to 1/4000th of a second shutter, but I never ran into that issue because all of the pictures I take, you know, haven't had to go to past 1/4000th. And I use ND filters too, so I don't really have to go that high. But, you know, this being almost a 2-year-old camera for me, and it still being a tank, you know, very grateful to have had this camera. You know, one weird thing is, like, Sony, why would you put the record button right here? Like, that's a joke. You should have put it anywhere else but where you put your thumb. Weird. But yeah, if you do end up getting one of these, I suggest getting a cage and multiple batteries and a macro lens. But I think that's gonna wrap it all up. That is why I think this camera will still be good in 2023. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.